Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Baranoski and today I am presenting my Math All Around Us Learning Center. I was unable to go into a classroom to interact with students, but I was able to interact with children who were all around the same age. Through these interactions, I learned that they enjoyed playing hands-on games, especially in math. They all agreed that interactive, hands-on learning activities was something that they enjoyed. When going into this activity, I had already had something planned out and was able to adjust it to make it more hands-on. Let's take a look. The standard that I chose to align my Math Learning Center activity with was NC3 OA1. This standard focuses a lot on multiplication through representation and solving problems. Within this standard, students must be able to interpret factors as representing the number of equal groups and the number of objects in each group. Students must also illustrate and explain the strategies they used when solving the multiplication equations with factors up to and including 10. The Math Learning Center activity that I created using student feedback was called Roll a Pair Multiplication Facts Practice. Although the students who I implemented this activity with completed the 3rd grade this year, it also provided them with a learning experience and was a great way for them to review. This activity was a comprehensive activity that focused on the use of different strategies that are related to multiplication. I noticed that some of the strategies they used were building arrays or equal groups, repeated addition, and skip counting on number lines. This activity also provided the ability to be differentiated for learners who may need additional supports in using the strategies to solve multiplication equations. The picture below shows the materials that were used for this activity. Students needed a pair of 12-sided dice, a multiplication practice sheet, and a dry erase marker. You can also provide them with an additional paper to show their work if needed. To complete this activity, there needs to be 3 to 4 students in a group, and each student needs their own sheet to record their equations and their work. The students will take turns rolling the dice to make an equation. Once they have their equation, students will collaborate using their own strategies to solve as a group. In order for students to be successful in this learning center activity, I required them to show their work when finding the answer. The activity that I created allowed students to really collaborate with one another. As important as it is for students to learn from me as their teacher, there is also much they can learn from each other through collaboration. This group of students worked very well together. This activity also promoted positive communication within the students as they had to work through each other's equations and communicate the strategies that they used. Collaboration and communication also helps build positive relationships. This activity allows students to see that everyone has a different way of solving equations and showing their work, but can still contribute effectively to each other's learning. This activity that I created does require rigor and innovation. It challenged students to try different strategies to solve multiplication equations. It required students to think outside of the box and observe how others might solve the equations differently. Using the strategies that they observed from others and implemented themselves can be built upon to eventually use when solving division problems as well as word problems. In order to be innovative, I felt that it was important to incorporate students' interest and input when creating this activity. Using student input and feedback, I was able to create an activity that promoted active engagement and learning. This was accomplished through innovating an activity to be something that students found interested and allowed them to learn in a different manner. There are different ways that this activity could have been assessed. An informal observation of students can allow me to see how the students are doing throughout the activity and where students may need additional supports. While performing informal observations, I can also incorporate critical thinking questions that require students to walk me through their work process to check for understanding of the application of the strategy that they chose to use. Student self-assessment is another strategy that can be used for assessment, as it allows students to share how they feel they're progressing in the activity or if they need more support. This allows students to feel confident in their learning, as well as being able to ask for help if they do not understand something still. From getting to know this group of students to implementing the Math Learning Center activity, I feel that I have learned a lot that I can incorporate into my own classroom. I learned that incorporating hands-on math activities into a learning center can help promote engagement and help build positive relationships between students, as well as a positive relationship with learning. I learned that hands-on activities need to be rigorous in order to promote growth, and that putting student input can innovate an activity from something that they feel they have to do to something that they want to do. It is also important to ensure that all activities have the ability to be differentiated to help create a learning environment for the diverse community of learners within. Thank you so much for watching.